Welcome to your week in news. You know this is a news show because I'm talking like this. I'm your host, Travis Grassi. We're going to get all the week's news in under 10 minutes. Let's go. Monday was Labor Day, a national holiday meant to celebrate how labor unions have won critical rights for workers, like livable wages and safe work environments and, paid vacation. Ironically, now it's just a day where giant corporations force minimum wage workers to work while the rest of America barbecues and orders things off Amazon. Because no matter how big that sale is at JCPenney's, no one's going to JCPenney's ever again. Speaking of Amazon, Tuesday was the day that company passed its $1 trillion valuation mark. $1 trillion. To be clear, it did not sell $1 trillion worth of goods and services. In fact, last year it only sold about $178 billion, which is a lot, but is definitely not $1 trillion. They're worth $1 trillion because Wall Street believes they have $1 trillion worth of potential. Wish the bank measured my potential. Yeah, I only made $1,300 last month, but you know what? I have a shaved head and I talked about drones a lot, so it feels like I have the potential to pay off my credit cards. Just a little side note, Jeff Bezos is now worth more than Warren Buffett and Bill Gates combined. I don't have a joke for that, I just find it alarming. Alexa, how do we solve income inequality? Tuesday was also the first day of Brett Kavanaugh's Senate confirmation hearing to become the next United States Supreme Court Justice, and the Democrats came to play. Before Committee Chair Chuck Grassley, who looks exactly like his name sounds, could even get out his opening remarks, Kamala Harris, who's running for president of bad bitches everywhere, lit up the room by demanding more time to review the more than 40,000 documents dumped on the committee overnight. Grassley, who looked like the last time a woman interrupted him was during the Eisenhower administration, had no idea what to do, so decided the best course of action was to just keep talking over Kamala Harris and Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota. Take a look.
I welcome everyone to this confirmation hearing on the nomination of
Mr. Chairman.
Brett Kavanaugh
Mr. Chairman.
to serve as Associate Justice.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be recognized for a question before we proceed. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be recognized to ask a question before we proceed. The committee received just last night, less than 15 hours ago, 42,000 pages of documents that we have not had an opportunity to review or read or analyze.
You're out of order. I'll proceed.
We cannot possibly move forward, Mr. Chairman.
I extend a very warm welcome
we have not been
Judge
given
Kavanaugh,
an opportunity to have a meaningful
his wife,
hearing on
Ashley,
this nominee.
their two daughters.
Mr. Chairman,
Their
I
extended
agree with my
family and
colleague,
friends.
Senator Harris. Mr. Chairman,
Judge
we
Kavanaugh's
received
many law
42,000
clerks
documents that we haven't
and
been
everyone
able
else
to
joining
review
us
last
today.
night, and we believe this hearing
I
should be
know this is an
postponed.
exciting day.
And that's how I imagine Grassley reacts to his wife when she asks if they can have anything for dinner other than burnt steak. We will be having steak tonight. You will be cooking it. I will be in the den with my oxygen tank. It wasn't until Senator Blumenthal, a very white dude from Connecticut, made a motion to adjourn that Grassley finally stopped talking.
Proud
Mr. Chairman, if we cannot be recognized, I move to adjourn.
the American people.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
Directly from Judge Kavanaugh later this afternoon.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
The hearing eventually got underway, with the Capitol Police removing protesters one by one, whack-a-mole style, until the public seating section looked like the first two rows in a college course on the Me Too movement, taught by Professor Harvey Weinstein. In the end, the rest of the hearing was mostly performance art, with Democrats asking actual questions while Republicans mostly complimented Kavanaugh's perfectly coiffed hair, telling him what a great job he'd do on the court. Why? Ever since a guy, unfortunately named Robert Bork, actually answered questions in his 1987 confirmation hearing, including what he thought of Roe v. Wade, and spoiler alert, he was not a fan, and subsequently watched his nomination go down in flames, it's become custom for nominees to avoid getting borked by saying as little as possible. So each successive nominee has become more and more coy and said less and less, and so here we are. No one actually says anything. The craziest part about the Kavanaugh charade, though, is we don't have to actually ask him what he thinks, because he spent the last 12 years of his life as a circuit judge in D.C., issuing some of the most staunchly conservative opinions on the bench. And before that, he was writing law review articles and giving speeches, and years before that, he was working in the Bush administration, and before that, he was giving Ken Starr the best blowjob questions to ask Bill Clinton during his impeachment. So basically, his life has been one long audition to be nominated by a Republican for the Supreme Court. Was a fly. So, even though Trump campaigned on a promise to only pick judges who would overturn Roe v. Wade, and even though Kavanaugh was only picked because he was on a list provided by the Federalist Society precisely because he would overturn Roe v. Wade, and even though he just sided with the Trump administration's decision to deny an immigrant woman access to an abortion because I guess they want to put more kids in cages, he still sat in that committee room with a straight face and even straighter hair and dodged every single abortion question and said it was settled law. So Susan Collins could feel great about voting to confirm him and then act super surprised when he does the one thing everyone knows he'll do the first chance he gets, which is to help overturn Roe v. Wade. We're only halfway through the week. On Wednesday, the New York Times published an anonymous op-ed from a senior Trump administration official detailing how people are working inside the government to thwart some of Trump's worst instincts, like unilaterally pulling us out of NAFTA or putting Ivanka's legs on Mount Rushmore. This came right after Bob Woodward's new book started leaking, essentially telling us what anyone who's been paying attention already knows, that Trump has the attention span of a fourth grader on a sugar high, and that everyone around him despises him but only puts up with him because they want tax cuts for rich people and more military spending. Predictably, Trump was pretty pissed and spent the rest of the week trying to pronounce the word anonymous.
The latest act of resistance is the op-ed published in the failing New York Times by an anonymous, gutless coward.
On Thursday, Elon Musk thought it'd be an awesome idea to take a puff off a blunt on Joe Rogan's podcast, which led to Tesla shares dropping 9% when they opened Friday morning. Because God forbid the CEO of not one, not two, but 3 insane companies decides to chill out for a bit. And if you actually watch the clip, the man doesn't even inhale.
How does that work? Do people get upset at you if you do certain things? There's tobacco and marijuana in there. That's all it is.
That made shares drop 9%, a puff which any pimply-faced 9th grader would tell you is, quote, pretty lame, bro. I think he should have inhaled deeply. I think the man deserves it. I mean, we're talking about a guy that created an electric car company when no one thought that was possible, a rocket company that's working on taking people to Mars, and a computer that plugs directly into our brains. If we get this guy high for a week, I'm betting I'm going to get to live out my 2nd grade fantasy of finally becoming a Jetson. And finally, on Friday, Trump said he believes Jeff Sessions should be investigating the New York Times op-ed anonymous author. Because, quote, it's national security. And he's not wrong. It is national security when unelected officials are stealing papers off the president's desk and he has no idea what's going on. So, Barron, it's time to come out as the anonymous author. Look, we get it. Your dad's crazy. Your mom's a robot. You just want this whole thing to end so you can go back to Trump Tower and play Duck Duck Goose with 3 live ducks and 1 very angry goose in peace. I fucking killed that fly. I'm a ninja. Yes. Stay tuned next week to see how this whole thing ends. And please, if you haven't already, register to vote to make this whole thing stop. I'm Travis Crosby. Thanks for watching.